Welcome, everybody, to the show. This is the Fans of Pro Wrestling presenting the Wrestling Fans Insight podcast. This is Tuesday Night Chaos, and I'm here, Bryan, the Hype Ballard, with my partner, Carlos. Carlos, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. And we are on the brisk of AEW Eve, as I like to call it, or Tuesday night. And we are getting into, a little Dynamite, and then we're going to, be preluding into what's going to be the All In monumental pay-per-view for two reasons. One, because it's international in England in Wembley Stadium, but two, also because of the fact that this is the landmark show before AEW was born and created that helped stem that birth, and it was the seed, if you will. So, what are your thoughts on this exciting week?
I think it's a good week. I'm interested to see, they're filming Collision and AEW Dynamite on the same day on Wednesday. So I'm interested to see if we get the CM Punk and Elite, maybe interacting with each other. I know we probably won't, but I'm gonna be watching both shows. Well, not so much Wednesday because it's live, but I'm gonna really be watching Saturday to see what kind of energy they keep up with it. But yeah, I think it's an exciting time. Again, if I was a fan in the UK, I remember back in March, when they were finally coming to the West Coast, Northern California, San Francisco, and Sacramento, I was excited, man, because it's like I feel like with AEW, it kind of feels like a fraternity. And now like almost like you get to feel like you get to kind of join the fraternity when you get to see them live. Because the one thing that I was talking about this on our other show with WWE. Is I feel like with AEW, the thing that I appreciate is that you can tell like when they're booking the card, that they're booking the show, like they're booking it for the live crowd. And it kind of feels like when we're watching it, we're kind of like we're getting to enjoy something live, that's being done for the live crowd. And that's something that I really appreciate, because I know if I was paying, a lot of money that these companies are paying to go see something live, like I want to feel like they're catering to me, and that's something that I really appreciate about AEW. So I'm looking forward to this week in general, and I'm looking forward to see what they do with in Wembley Stadium.
It's an interesting point you bring up about the live crowd. Something I always felt that AEW did a really good job was playing to the crowd, and I always said WWE does a good job playing to the cameras, right? And so you can always tell those two different brands apart from that. And that's not just on TV, but also on live appearances when you're there at each show. And so, it's interesting you brought that up as far as playing to the crowds, because, you definitely feel the energy, and they do things to keep the crowd energy up. And I would say shout out to their ring announcer, Justin, at AEW for he does a great job keeping the crowd involved even during breaks and doesn't just let them sit there. And so you've noticed that probably at the shows you've been to as well.
Oh yeah, and then they do like they do the fighting, like there's two ring guys that they have, and they go, whose team are you on? Are you for this guy or that guy? Yeah, and then they kind of play off each other in between the cards, and yeah, they do a really good job of keeping the crowd hyped. They definitely deserve their flowers for that.
Yeah, I think the last one I went to, we got into a game of Marco Polo with Justin Roberts.
Yeah, nice.
And it was things he does to keep energy, and I was like, man, I could learn from this guy. So we want to get into talking a little bit about the buzz of All In, correct? And a little bit about what that means and kind of what that means to the wrestling community.
Yeah, so I can, so something like I talked about, like, and again, I feel like, I feel like the tribalism has been at all-time high this week, this because, I think it is, a lot of it has to do with the fact that, that AEW now has the record for the biggest live gate tickets sold. I think they're a little shy of 81,000. So I think that, when that happens, you're going to have your, what you call your WWE marks are going to come out, and they're going to, come out in full force and just try to talk shit about AEW. And one of the things they've been talking about, and just the general thing about, what the build to this card. So to me, again, when you already, I think to me, when you already have 70,000 tickets sold, and you kind of have that, you don't really need to build that live crowd, So I guess my question for you, and again, and I'll just share this with you, we talked about this, when WWE went to Wembley Stadium, the card was this. It was Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog for the Intercontinental title. You had Ultimate Warrior versus Macho Man. And then that was pretty much, and then you had Undertaker versus Kamala, which to me, I don't think Kamala was a main eventer. So those were kind of your three big card matches. And the rest of the card was for the WWF tag team titles. You had the Natural Disasters versus the Beverly Brothers, Rick Martel versus Shawn Michaels. You had Repo Man versus Crush, LOD versus Money Inc., Nails versus Virgil, Tatanka versus the Berserker, Papa Shango versus Tito Santana, Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers versus the Mountie and the Nasty Boys. I mean, again, so my question for you with all this, is what are your thoughts about the criticism of the build for this match? And do you think that AEW should be treating this as a WrestleMania because it is their biggest crowd, or should it just be a special event? Like, so again, wherever you want to take that, I'll leave it to you, my friend.
Yeah. So it's a great point to bring up. So, I do see the divide, right? The team divided kind of thing in the community. For me, we're looking at two different eras, right? So in 1992, the WWF at the time was into a very gimmicky era. So you have these characters like Kamala. The Undertaker was newer at the time, right? And you have a lot of gimmick-based characters that, was just the era of wrestling at the time. And so, I don't look so much as, the characters on the card, because I know they did not have Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and these next generational big time wrestlers at the time. They were kind of in between the 80s era and the Attitude Era, and they were trying to, go with what they had. So keeping that in mind, for All In, I feel like we are in the modern era now, and I do feel like this is an opportunity. Don't get me wrong, it'll be successful for two reasons. One, the crowd in England is always phenomenal, right? And they just do a great job of showing up, being energetic, and I would expect nothing other than that for this being one of the major shows they've had in a long time. And then also, the fact that when they are over there in the modern era now, we have, bigger stars now in AEW. We have guys that could be, electric, and the crowd expects more now out of the audience and crowd expects more out of the company that's putting shows on there than maybe they did in 92. So for that, I do feel like, AEW should treat this as a major event. I know, I hate saying WrestleMania level, because, that means that AEW will never have a WrestleMania themselves, right? But, WrestleMania even calls itself the Super Bowl of wrestling. So keeping titles aside as far as that, I do feel like this should be their main big show, and they should, because this is the show that started everything for the company before they were established as a company. And I would like to see them have that kind of energy. I do think there is a little bit of a mistake there having this and All Out carry so close to each other. So All In and All Out being like within weeks. I think we might run into a situation where the All In card, even though it will be successful, and I believe that the wrestlers will be the reason that that place is going to have a successful show, because it's a chance for them to rise up. I almost wonder if we're going to get into where this is the pre-show for All Out. And what I mean by that is, think back to a Survivor Series. I'm trying to remember which year, but immediately following that Survivor Series, there was a pay-per-view special called Tuesday in Texas. And if you go back, one of my Twitter X followers was saying that whole Survivor Series card was literally the pre-show buildup for Tuesday in Texas, like everything you've seen on that show. And I wonder if AEW's kind of got that in mind, with this being kind of all the build-up main show, even though they know it's going to be successful for what eventually is going to be All Out. And maybe this is a two-part type series we're looking at. So this is my initial answer to your question, but I do want to hear your thoughts on it.
So to me, like, I think that they're doing, I think, like, to me, like, again, like what I talked about in the very beginning about it, like, so again, just as me as an AEW fan, to me, like, if I, okay, like, again, shout out to our friend Sarah, Execution 84. She's excited about the card. Again, she one of those things where she's like, fine, it's about the build up. To me, like, if you're going to go to England and you're going to give me a show and you've never been here before, and I'm going to be with 90,000 people, I want to see all the hits, so I'm going to want to see I'm gonna want to see Jericho and St. Judas. I'm gonna want to see the Elite. I'm gonna want to see the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm gonna want to, and I'm gonna want to see the Acclaim. I'm gonna want to Scissor. It's like I want to see Dr. Britt. Like I want to see all the big things. I want to see the Best Friends hug. Like I want to see everything that they're doing for that. I want to see on that show because you haven't been here before, and I don't know when you're coming back. So to me, I feel like they're doing the right thing. Again, as a fan looking at it, I can forgive them because to me, I want to make sure that they're giving those fans in England the chance to see everybody that they possibly can. So I would go a step further. Like I want to see battle royals added to this card. I want to see a casino battle royal for the women's, and I want to see one for the men. And why not have the men's casino battle royal winner gets a shot at the international title at All Out, and to me, like, why not have it to where the casino battle royal for the women gets a shot at the TBS championship at All Out, and then that way you're kind of giving a purpose to Chris Statlander, who's not booked yet for either card. And for me, I thought about this last night. To me, if they're going to keep the All In pay-per-view, I feel like they should just do it every year, but I would space it out more next year. But I think that they should do it more as somewhere to go into a new market. So like maybe next year they go to Australia, the next year they go to Mexico. Use it as somewhere as a precursor to go somewhere that you haven't been yet, and make it feel special for people. And maybe you go back to England every 5 years, but that way it kind of keeps it fresh. It kind of does it as for big crowds. And again, I think if you're going to use it as a precursor for All In, then you die on that hill. You make Chicago as AEW territory, and you officially crown All Out as your WrestleMania, because I feel like before it's kind of felt like Double or Nothing was, but to me, like, if you're gonna do it, then just double down and go with the fact that All Out is your WrestleMania and go from there. That's how I feel about everything.
Yeah, and something that just kind of gave me a thought when you said that. So two things. One, if you want to see a battle royal segment, I would recommend brand sponsorship. So nothing better than the Bad Monkey Nacho Cheese Popcorn battle royal.
There you go. Woo, yeah.
Little fun, and if you guys watch the show continuously, that's an inside joke among all of us. But in all serious note, could we end up making All In and All Out be in the same weekend and be like WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2? And could that be married together in the future to where it does become the WrestleMania 2-night weekend extravaganza, and then you have All In and All Out all on the same weekend? What are your thoughts on that idea?
I like that idea. Why not? But at the same time, I also like the idea. I like my idea better. I'm like, where I was going to go with that, but I don't see that. Either one's fine with me. I don't see that. I think it's fine to keep them a week apart, especially, and again, because you also got to remember that they have Collision on Saturdays. So I think for where their brand is right now, when you have a show that's already on Saturdays, it would be hard for them to do them back to back on the same weekend because they do have Collision. But to kind of pony on what you said and to kind of combine our two ideas together, I don't see I don't see why they couldn't just do them as a week apart, and again, in the future, you kind of have like because AEW does have factions, so there's nothing wrong with having a faction war at All In, and then you get like the payoff singles matches at All Out. I think it's a way to kind of let all the talent be showcased more, and it's a kind of a way to just kind of have their own way of having a WrestleMania Night 1 and 2 with All In and All Out.
Yeah, I like that idea. And by the way, Tony Khan, if you're listening, check us out, thefansofprowrestling.com. That's where you can hire us for these great ideas and more in order to help, get AEW to the next level. Because we take
and also just to push the narrative of the fact that this is smart booking, and I think that's, there's nothing wrong, and if you look, I mean, again, I would just challenge fans to look at the fact that, if you look at AEW, they do have over 80,000 for this card. That they had 70,000 just sold us with Eric Bischoff, and the AEW weekly television for the UK is 50,000 people. So you have 50,000 people, and again, it's more than WWE because it's just different brands, watching live. So you have 50,000 people that watch it, and you sold 70,000, 80,000 tickets. You're doing well and above what people should expect. So, kudos to them. And again, and just also for all, for their week in Chicago, they're doing really good numbers too for having 3 shows in Chicago. So as long as the people are showing up to buy the stuff, and as long as people are buying the pay-per-views, I hope that, as long as they're selling, then, the proof's in the pudding there. And also just a shout out to someone else who could maybe sponsor us eventually, NV Streams. NV Streams is a good platform to go and get these shows on both for a cheap price of, as low as $35 a month. You could be watching both these pay-per-views, in the comfort of your home. So just something to consider going in the future, because it is get costly. As long as people are shelling out the money for it, then I think they're fine to keep doing what they're doing. But after we were talking about this, I do like the idea of them being a week apart from each other, because it does build into each other, and it's just a natural segue for both things. So as long as the fans are turning out to pay the money, then why not just keep doing it?
Yeah, no, agreed. And with this All In card coming up this weekend, there's one thing I'm excited about, and I know you're going to probably know it once I say it, but there's nothing that has made me more mad the last couple pay-per-views is when the world champion is not featured in the main event. And I feel like finally, not to go WWE, we are going to get the main event and the world championship in the main event, as MJF is going to get into Adam Cole. But let's go down the card and let's get our predictions out there, because I want to stay competitive with you guys and keep this race going for the end of the year. And I believe our teammates, shout out to John, Will, and Heather, they've sent their picks in, correct, Carlos?
Yes.
So do we want to run through the card lineup?
Yeah. So let's and again, and what are your while we're here, what are your thoughts about All Out too? Like, to me, like, I'm sold on All Out just on the Powerhouse Hobbs and Miro match by themselves. Like, honestly, but what are your thoughts about them starting to build that, or what are your thoughts in general about the All Out card?
Yeah, I think ultimately, I think it's because, they're already thinking of All Out because they know All In's already settled. As far as a creative writing team and a booking team, right? As fans, we're like, oh, it's All In, it's All In. But they're done with that in their heads. They just got to run the program. They're already writing for the next one. And I think that's why we're going to see a lot of part 1 and part 2 mentalities when it comes to All In and All Out.
Correct. And I think that's something that fans need to remember, like you're saying, like, so like at All Out, you're going to get the singles match with Kenny Omega and Konosuke. You're going to get the singles matchup probably with Mox and Orange Cassidy. You're going to see, you're going to get Shida defend whoever wins the title against somebody else. You're going to probably get CM Punk versus MJF. If you're paying attention to the thing, and that's something I want to, again, toot my own horn, just as somebody who watches every week, I knew where all these matches were going already. So then for people who are saying there's not a build, if you're paying, I think if you're a fan of the brand and you're paying close attention, you are getting a build, and you're getting paid for your fandom, because maybe they're not coming out and blatantly telling you the card. But if you're paying attention to everything and you're watching stuff and you're watching the card on a consistent basis, where these matches are going. And that's one thing I would just give a shout out to. They're actually paying off your fandom with where they're taking this card. So with that said, let's get into our predict. Do you have anything else to add to that, or are you okay?
No, let's get into the predictions.
All right. So for the first prediction for the pre-show, we have Adam Cole and MJF versus Aussie Open. And again, to you, I'm going to counter you. Like, yeah, they're giving you the main event. They're giving you the world title and then the main event, but he's also giving you the 2 main eventers on the opening pre-show. So I guess I want to ask you, like, what are your feelings about that? And then, because I feel like, I think I'm interested to see where this is going to go. So just to give a shout out, so Heather, Will, and John all picked Aussie Open to win this match. So what are your thoughts about that? And where do you think this match is going?
Yeah, so I think this is traditional old school. I call it bookend booking, right? Because, it tells the story from open to close. So if you remember back in the day, WCW and WWF, they used to do a good job of opening the scene of the movie, so to speak, or opening the event with a story and bringing it full circle into the third act. And that's when they had a lot of Hollywood writers writing for them, but they would tell the story throughout the night, and each episode of Nitro and Raw would tell a story that night and a theme. I think we're getting what's called bookend booking. I feel like this opening match is going to just tell the story throughout the night. And I'm interested to see what that story is that's told. we know that it most likely it could go two routes, in my opinion. It could go the route of MJF and Adam Cole win, and they have to play buddy, and I've always liked you, and even though they're going to stab each other in the back later, or they're going to have a flat out breakup, which is just going to create the blood feud for the main event, which I almost think needs to happen. And I think that's the route they're going to go. So I am going to say that I think Aussie Open does take this one because of the Ring of Honor titles. I think that does belong to them, taking those titles back home. And so I do think they get the win over an MJF Adam Cole breakup. So that's my pick.
All right. So you're picking Aussie Open with the rest of the crowd. I'm going to go with Adam Cole and MJF to win this one.
All right. You got to show your work. This is math class. Show your work.
And the reason why, and again, is because they're showing this as so, because that's going to lead into the storyline with the Kingdom. And I think eventually you'll see them defend the titles against the Kingdom. And that's where you'll get the turn. I don't think Adam Cole and MJF are going to turn on each other yet. I think that's going to happen down the line. And I think that with that being said, you're going to see them win the titles. Then eventually you'll see them defend the titles against the Kingdom. And that's eventually where you're going to see the turn, and you'll eventually see the Kingdom win the Ring of Honor titles off of MJF and Adam Cole.
All right, man. I like it. Good explanation. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. So the next one I'm going to go with, and again, I feel bad because when I was writing the match order down, again, the fact that this match ends up on the bottom just says a lot about where Tony Khan's booking is. So I'm going to go with the women's 4-way match for the AEW Women's Championship. So we have Hikaru Shida defending her title in a 4-way match against Britt Baker, Saraya, and Toni Storm. And so for me, this is one of those matches where I saw a mile away. Like, again, the reason why I knew that Shida won the title was because I knew that they wanted to add Saraya to this match because it is in her home country. But to me, you could have just easily kept the title on Toni Storm, and Saraya could have just, why can't two friends fight each other, especially when you're in your home country? The match, the story could have been told the same way with keeping the title on Toni Storm. So I'm not really happy with the title changing hands already. With that being said, so with this, every one of our teammates picked Shida, and I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to go with Saraya with this one. And again, the reason for math class to me is you're gonna send that crowd home happy, and you're gonna give them their hometown girl winning the title. I don't think Saraya is gonna have a long title reign, but I do think that she's gonna win, because to me, if you're gonna have Shida keep the title, then you should have just kept the title on Toni Storm, and Toni Storm could have lost it to Shida here in England. So that's why I'm going with Saraya. So what are your thoughts on my thoughts, and what is your pick?
I think your thoughts are right on par, and I agree with them. Big surprise. So Shida and our teammates all picked her.
Yeah, they all picked Shida.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we're definitely going to be aligned here. I will go with Saraya as well, because Shida. Okay, again, I don't like the hot potato end of the title. I thought Toni Storm should have kept that as well. I'm all about building credible champions and credible championships. With that being said, I think Shida is the placeholder here. And I do believe that the long-term story carrying into the next pay-per-view, I think there's more of a story there with Saraya and maybe a Toni Storm or something of that nature. And I also think Saraya does have home court advantage being in the ring. And so I think, she definitely has that advantage in her play as well. So I think I agree with you for those reasons that you said. Plus, I think the longer story and booking is got to be, there's more potential big matches with Saraya in the picture than there is Shida as champion. And so that's another reason I think that household name is going to mean more.
Yeah. And she, like, you're like, if you watched Collision, like, you're already seeing like Toni Storm was doing some incredible character work, with with the backstage with next to Lexi Nair, and who are you? Like, she's already like almost like having a breakdown, so having Saraya win the title is another step in her mental breakdown, and getting to see a whole new side of Toni Storm. So again, I'm excited. And for me, like, long term, we have a woman in Judgment Day. why not see Toni Storm join the Bullet Club Gold eventually with her husband Juice Robinson? So I agree with you. I think this is the feel good moment, and I think this just leads to Toni Storm having more of a mental breakdown in character and taking her character a whole new direction. And I think with all these different injuries happening, I think this is the easy way to build towards that. And again, I'm going to throw it out there too, because I'll keep dying on this hill till it goes away. Why not have a Mercedes Moné come out afterwards and challenge Soraya for the title?
Yeah, and I tell you what, that would be
a big
nice all out
surprise, right?
Yes, I love that idea. There's history. That to me is a all out pay-per-view worthy take my money match. So yeah, absolutely.
And again, and to me, and that's and I feel like Tony Khan has surprises in his waiting here, or else you wouldn't be Tony Khan. He cooks. He knows how to cook. So I wouldn't doubt him having that surprise in his back pocket. And especially with Mercedes, she's been radio silent during this injury, so I could definitely see her popping up. And again, like you said, take my fucking money.
Yeah. And Tony Khan, I do want to say this kind of to your point of him knowing how to cook. I got to give him enough credit for this. He knows how to keep his mouth shut. And it's hard to do in today's business. It is tough. You got so many reporters and people with their ear against the wall trying to listen in on your phone calls, tapping your line, getting a judge to sign off on espionage against you. So kudos to Tony Khan. He does know how to keep a secret, and so good for him. So
and that's into what your point. Again, I'll just throw this out there. That's why I think we're all being worked with the whole CM Punk thing with the Elite right now. I feel like the match is already going to happen, and we're just seeing little Easter eggs because, like you said, the stuff that's coming out wouldn't be coming out if Tony Khan didn't want it to be coming out. So I think it's important. A man that can keep secrets also knows how to feed things out that he wants to be fed. So. Don't sleep on this man, guys. I think there's a lot that's going on in AEW. So with that being said, the next match we have is we'll just call it the BCC and Friends versus the Best Friends with the Lucha Brothers and Eddie Kingston. Again, this is I got this match wrong at first because I thought we were getting Anarchy in the Arena, but I thought we were gonna get just a triple threat match with the BCC versus the Best Friends versus the Death Triangle with someone to fill in for Pac. So, and again, maybe that was the original plan, but with injuries happening, they had to change course. But I do like the fact that, again, to me, kudos for Tony Khan to giving the UK crowd Anarchy in the Arena. Again, to me, like, if I'm there, I want to see all the hits. So the only thing I'd be complaining about is why aren't we getting blood and guts too? So again, I just kudos to him for giving them this match. And again, I'm interested to see. So again, I'm going to ask you this question: who do you got, and who do you think the tag team partners are going to be for the BCC? And just to give you an idea before you give your answer, will Heather and John all pick the BCC and Friends to win this match?
Okay. Did they give thoughts on the partners?
They didn't give any thoughts to the partners, but I didn't ask him either. So
okay,
I just leave that for my tag team partner.
So they did pick the Best Friends.
They all picked Blackpool Combat Club.
Okay. That didn't sound like our group. That's why I was like, really?
Yeah, no, Heather. Yeah, no.
Okay. I didn't see Heather going against John Moxley. That's why I was like, what? Yeah. So, ultimately, okay. So I'm glad this is a Stadium Stampede match. Which now makes a lot more sense why there was not anything like that at Double or Nothing, because they're going to use the advantage of the international show, and so I'm glad they're doing that. While I don't mind Anarchy in the Arena matches, I believe you can't overuse those things too much, and so I was really hoping it would not be another one yet again. For me. This matchup, I am going to take the Blackpool Combat Club. I do believe that they are the better unit and the better team. And on a bigger show like this, I do think that they take a win and get their name in the lights, right? There's just too many stars in the way they're built up. Now, as far as the mystery partners, I do not have any guesses. They kind of got me a little bamboozled. I mean, they could go a couple routes though. So let me throw some ideas out as far as the concept behind it. They could grab a local talent. they could grab somebody that is very England popular, maybe a hardcore legend of sorts, right? That is, and so I don't know if any names pop to mind when I say that. Or maybe they could go with just somebody that's been rumored to be out there in the world and going to make that surprise shocker, like you mentioned, right? Because again, Tony knows how to keep quiet. But we also have to think of who fits the theme of the Blackpool Combat Club. In my mind, I would geek out, and I know it won't happen. I know it's not going to happen, but I would geek out over William Regal, just like, and I know that's long gone, right? But he's got history with the club. He's, founded it. And I'm like, and it's England. And in a perfect dream scenario, I would love a situation where William Regal would make some kind of an appearance, right? But we know that just can't happen, right? So, ultimately, that's kind of my overall thoughts. And how about you?
So I'm going to take Blackpool Combat Club to win this match and friends. Because I do think that this is going to lead to a couple of different matches. So I think this will lead to Claudia versus Eddie for the Ring of Honor World Title, all out hopefully, because I would like to see that title get that shine. And then it also leads to Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy for the international title. And again, I don't want to see Jon Moxley win that title, but again, if it has to be, then it has to be. So I'm gonna go with this. And again, I've been back and forth because one name that's been thrown out there is Nigel McGuinness, making the comeback. But especially with this, I don't know if his Hep B's gone all the way because I know it is curable, but I don't know if I feel like there would just be more build up to him if he was going to be the surprise in this match. So I'm still going to geek out with this, and I'm going to go with the returning Santana and Ortiz, and then with Chris Hero to return and be the partner.
I like that. I really like your Nigel McGuinness. It's very logical. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. I think that actually probably scratches the William Regal itch that I had because I need somebody local, right?
Yeah.
And then, Santana and Ortiz we just don't talk about him, right? We don't.
No, and Santana, because he's been coming back from injury, and they split apart because Santana wasn't happy with where things were going. But at the same time, the money for them too is in a tag team, and I do think that with the status of WWE now, like I think when Hunter first took over, a lot of guys were looking at the opportunity to go over there and be showcased. But now with Vince in charge again, I think that's kind of put the squash on a lot of that talk. So I think that's maybe, Santana's, his attitudes changed a little bit, and maybe he's willing to reform the tag team. And I do think that it would be a knife in the back to Eddie. So I know it just depends on if they're going to take them as heels and faces. So again, to me, and again, so again, if it is, let's say it is Nigel and Chris Hero, then maybe it is Nigel, Chris Hero, and then you get Shooter in there as the other guy. So for me, it's just the math and the logic of who the three are going to be. So I wouldn't mind either one of those combos. So I'm going to go either as Chris Hero with Pride and Powerful, or as Chris Hero, Nigel McGuinness, and Shooter.
So I like the idea for me. Based on, because I think you got solid ones here. I feel like Nigel and Santana Ortiz would make the most sense. I think Santana Ortiz reuniting and kind of going after the Lucha Brothers would be fun for the next setup and feud.
Yeah, so, then you could have Eddie questioning, why'd you guys do that? You're supposed to be my boys, like it just.
Yeah, there's just a lot there with that. So I feel like that would be a more of a natural transition there. So I like those three.
All right, so cool. And so we're all taking, so we're all on the same page. The BCC and friends are winning. So for the next matchup, we have the Elite, which is Kota Ibushi, Hangman Adam Page, and Kenny Omega versus the Bang Bang Boys of Juice Robinson, Jay Switchblade, and then their tag team partner Konosuke Takeshita in a 6-man tag. So all of our tag partners are picking the Elite to win. So who are you taking in this matchup and why?
Let's see. Is it my turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay. For me, we got Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, Hangnail Adam Page, and then we've got the Bullet Club Gold, right? I do believe that it is the Golden Elite. They're going to be the ones that they're going to shine. Okay, this is a big show in a big stadium. I do not see them taking a loss on that big of a show. I don't see that happening. So I do think, and again, Juice Robinson and Jay White, they're in their rookie season in AEW. They're not rookies in the industry, but they are in their rookie season. And I think this is a way for them to kind of be the rookie role and take the loss in a really good high impact tag match. So I do believe the Golden Elite will shine here, though.
And I'm with you. I think for me, and again, it's really sad. Like, I would like to see. I'm kind of like, do I want to go that way again? I wouldn't mind seeing the elite. I wouldn't mind seeing the team of Konosuke and those guys winning. I'm actually going to switch my pick, and I'm going to go with Konosuke and Switchblade and Juice going winning this match because Coda and them got the win at the Blood and Guts, and I think that Konosuke winning this matchup, it leads to Kenny and him fighting the next week at All Out. So with that said, I'm gonna go with Konosuke, Switchblade Jay White, and Juice Robinson.
All right.
So I'm gonna go against the grain. Because I just think it'll lead to more fees. I think it'll lead to other matches All Out, and maybe we see somebody new from the Don Callis family popping up to help them win. So our next matchup is going to be Sting and Darby Allin versus Swerve and AR Fox in the Coffin matchup. And again, to me, like, this is one of those matchups that, again, to me, like, when I'm looking back, we were talking about earlier the criticism of the card. I feel like this matchup has been built up really well, and again, AR Fox came out of nowhere because a month ago he was being used as a jobber on a glorified jobber on Ring of Honor television. But I think that they've done a really good job of telling this story, and just the attacks, and again, like even attacking Nick Wayne for this, has been done really well. Again, if you haven't been following the show, I'm a Brian Cage mark, and again, he's on my list, But to me, like, my only complaint about this matchup is I wouldn't mind have seen Nick Wayne and Brian Cage thrown into this matchup. But it is what it is. We're getting Darby and Sting versus Swerve and AR Fox. And again, to me, this is a matchup that's been told really well. You're going to get that big pop for having the icon Sting in there. And again, you're giving the crowd a different matchup in a coffin matchup. So you're going to have guys fight. They're going to be fighting all around ringside. And again, it's just a special stipulation matchup. Again, this is one of those matchups that, again, I think just on its own, I think this will send the 80,000 plus fans home happy. So with that said, every one of our other teammates picked Sting and Darby, and I'm going to go along with them. I'm definitely taking Sting and Darby. Sting hasn't lost yet, and it's not going to happen here either. So I'm taking Sting and Darby as well. What are your thoughts on this match?
All right. My thoughts is I'm glad that you did not pick Swerve and A Fox. Alicia Fox, is that who that is?
Yeah.
A Fox? Yeah, A Fox. That's Alicia Fox, right? So
yeah.
All kidding aside, no, this is Darby Allin and Sting's match. They are going to win this. This is a coffin match, and Sting has not taken a loss since he's joined AEW. And I believe that will not end at this pay-per-view. I think he might not ever take a loss in AEW, right? I think he's going to do reverse WWE, where that's all he did was take losses, right? So, or he might have a major match where that eventually happens. But I am with you guys aligned. We are going to take Darby Allin and Sting.
Good. And again, to me, like, it's one of those things where I feel like Swerve just takes some losses I think the more losses Swerve takes, the more evil he gets. So I think he's okay taking these losses, because I think it's going to lead to him being like, we're seeing his origin story right now of being like a top heel in the company. So, like, again, it's not going to do him any harm to take the loss here. And again, like AR Fox, again, be grateful you're on the card, dude. So with that the next one is one of those marquee matches on the card. And it's FTR versus the Young Bucks. And again, this is the third match in their trilogy. Again, if you listen to the podcast, the first matchup was kind of FTR doing the deed to the Young Bucks. FTR got the win back in the second matchup. So again, this is a matchup that, again, it's one of those dream matches. And again, this is the matchup that, I think on its own, it just kind of sells the card on its own. So all of our teammates picked FTR to win, and I'm gonna go with those guys too. Actually, it's supposed to be your turn, so you go first, and I'll go. See if you can sway me.
Yeah, so this one, the winner is going to be the fans. Right. This is going to be a great match. I just feel it. These are two very seasoned teams. These are the high-flying Young Bucks with their unique style versus the classic old-school wrestling, hard-nosed to the mat, FTR. This feud has been happening since the FTR joined AEW. This was like on the Being the Elite shows, right? Their name was written in the sky many years ago. And I feel like, this is going to be just the fans will be the winner here. But if I have to pick an actual wrestler to win this match, I am going to go with FTR along with you guys because I do see that the classic wrestling here is going to win out. But man, I just think it's going to be such a competition that people are going to be on their feet clapping for this. So.
And to me, I think, again, I was talking about earlier, I feel like, again, if you, I feel like with AEW, they reward you, the fans who pay attention. So for me, like I talked about earlier, I think that it's already been worked out that these teams are going to do business together. And with that being said, and eventually we'll get CM Punk, the FCM FTR versus the Elite. So I think with that being said, I think with this matchup, I think FTR wins as well. And I think the reason why is I think the Young Bucks need to show fans that are on the other side, that are on the FTR CM Punk side of things, is that they're willing to do business with these guys. And so with that being said, that they got to put FTR over in what's going to be a fantastic match. So we're all in agreement with that. And so with that said, let's go into the next matchup. So again, a matchup that I think is going to be in it could be the matchup that could steal the show. We're going to have Jericho versus Will Ospreay. And the reason I say that is because a lot of fans, they're just shitting on this match. Like, we're getting Jericho versus Ospreay. There's so many other matches I would have seen Will Ospreay in. And again, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a little bit. Again, fans, remember this: if it wasn't for Chris Jericho putting his name in All Elite Wrestling, coming over here, we might not even be having this conversation right now, because they might just be a t-shirt company like other fans criticize them being. They might be a company that was just on only doing pay-per-views, and they might not have ever gotten their contract to be on Warner Brothers Discovery Television. So if Chris Jericho wants to fight the gobbledygooker at All In, Chris Jericho can fight the gobbledygooker at All In. I'm not going to complain, because Chris Jericho is the one that gave his name to this company. He's given his blood, sweat, and tears to this. And again, I might get bored with some of his creative, but at the same time, it doesn't take away the fact that I don't appreciate what this man has done for this company. And with that being said, I am picking Chris Jericho to win this matchup. With our other partners, John and William have both picked Ospreay, and Heather picked Jericho. So where do you see this matchup going? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Because, I'm struggling between the feature main event guy like Jericho being the draw. I mean, he's a draw. He's a worldwide draw. The man is internationally known in and out of the ring. People could look at him and say, oh, isn't that Chris Jericho? Right? Will Ospreay, not as known, right? I mean, people know who he is in the wrestling world, but your casual fan is not going to know him, right? They're not going to see him on TV and say, oh, well, that's Will Ospreay. 9 times out of 10, they're going to recognize Chris Jericho. The question I have to ask everybody and myself is, in this matchup on a main card like this, is Jericho going to put over Will Ospreay to where he's a more recognizable name? Isn't that the guy that beat Chris Jericho? Isn't that the guy that broke the Undertaker's streak? That kind of vibe. Or is Will Ospreay going to win this, or is Chris Jericho going to get the fans to cheer and take a win on a major pay-per-view? I am going to go with Will Ospreay because of the kind of locker room leader that Chris Jericho is. So my pick in Will Ospreay is also me placing the bet and going all in on Chris Jericho being the best locker room leader in that company. So that's my pick.
All right. Fair enough. And again, to me, again, and it is Will Ospreay. He is a home. It is his country. So again, might be another pop for the countrymen. So again, I like your logic, and we'll see who's right. Okay. So with that being said, then again, back to the criticism of other people. Like, so the next matchup is CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. And I gotta say, CM Punk is winning me over. Like, what he's doing on Collision is good work. And as soon as like this matchup was made official last night or I should say Saturday night on Collision, I was like, damn, this is the one singles matchup that I think that they really needed to turn the tide over for this card and be like, okay, they can put as many multi-man matches as they want on this card. But the fact that they're giving you FTR versus the Young Bucks and 3 really big singles matches on this card, to me, is again, go complain to a wall, because you have no reason to complain anymore, because this matchup is going to cook. Again, I feel like these two guys have something to prove. You always know CM Punk's going to go out there and want to steal the show. I mean, you saw that with his matchup at Forbidden Door. He almost, I feel like he stole the show with that matchup. It was like a non-built, Owen Hart matchup with Kajimi, and it cooked. So I think that this matchup has the potential to steal the show too. And all of our partners picked CM Punk. And again, I think that with him having the real world title, I think that, I think it's going to be CM Punk as well. And again, but I think Joe's going to put up a good fight. So what are your thoughts on this match? And who are you picking?
Yeah. And our teammates took Punk.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So I want to say, my pick is going to be CM Punk. He's not going to just hand off the real world's championship, if you will, to Samoa Joe so he can walk around with it. So it will be CM Punk that retains and wins this match. But what I want to say is we are getting a name brand match that was one of the greatest feuds of Ring of Honor's history, right? But here's the thing. Nobody really got to see those matches, right? I definitely did not get to see Punk and Joe, right? Because I was not dialed into the Ring of Honor during that era. So for the people like myself, we're getting to see how great these two are on a big card pay-per-view situation in a big audience. And for them guys, it's almost full circle because they started their very young careers together. And now they're getting to do something on a mainstream level in front of a large crowd. So I think this match is for them and for that to come full circle and kind of finish the story, if you will. And so Punk is going to win this. But the other half that I expect to see, and I hope I am not wrong, this should not be the main event, even though this is going to be a big headline type match. And I think this is a way for Punk to show the locker room that he doesn't have to be the last one to go on, into the show, and that MJF is the world champion. And Punk has been putting over MJF since he's entered the company, right? And so I think him going on, not last is actually going to be not just a win for his character. Because if CM Punk said, Tony, I will do this show for you, but I want to be in the main event, that's how it's going to roll. Tony might give in and just do that. And so I think, Punk is not going to get enough credit in this match for saying, I want to do my match full circle with my old friend here, but I also don't need to be the last guy. And there was years where Punk would have argued that he should have been the last guy. And so I like that. I don't think he's going to get enough credit for that. As controversial as he is, I want to give him credit for doing the right thing here. Now, I hope I am not proven wrong on Sunday because I'll be just fuming. So please do not make me look bad, Punk, by saying that about you.
No, and I agree, and that's something that I think that people need to realize this, and again, I've told this, and I made this point on some Twitter spaces and stuff like that. And it's like, I think that thing that people don't realize this, and again, I feel like, yeah, Tony Khan saw the Elite and what they did with All In, and that's why he started AEW. But I feel like the one guy Tony Khan wanted since he first started doing AEW was CM Punk. So I think, it's obviously he built this company to try to lure CM Punk back into wrestling. He got his wish. And and with that being said, like you're saying, I think anything CM Punk wants, Tony Khan's going to do. So, you know, he could be a lot, even though we do see kind of a Frankenstein with CM Punk, it could be a lot worse. So give the man credit there, because he is doing this to make the wrestling business better. And with that being said, you know, I don't see this match going on last. It shouldn't, because at the end of the day, you can't make the world title look bad by going on and putting on your version of the world title, even though he thinks he didn't lose it. He's got to let MJF and Adam Cole go first and go on last. And again, but I do think he's going to get involved in that match, and I'll get up with my next prediction. So with that being said, our last matchup is MJF versus Adam Cole. I am agreeing with you. I do think this matchup will be the last match. And just going off of what I said, you know, they'll be going in as the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. And I think this matchup is going to be used to lie a lot of just undertone stories with this. So I think that we're going to see interference from Roger Strong, and we'll see interference from the rest of what's that? I'm throwing a blank right now. The Kingdom. And then I think CM Punk will come out too, because he's not going to want to see MJF lose by cheating. Because I just think you're going to see a lot of blurred lines in this that aren't going to be defined. And again, all of our teammates picked MJF to win this matchup. I think MJF is going to win this matchup too, because I think that you're going to maybe see the Kingdom try to come out and help Adam Cole. But then you're going to see CM Punk come out, because CM Punk's going to want to fight MJF for the title. And I think that he will. And I think he's going to come out to make sure MJF keeps the title. And I think that will lead to CM Punk versus MJF All Out to crown the undisputed world championship. So with that being said, I think that we see MJF win, and I do think CM Punk will be out there. So I think he will be, you know, he's still going to be involved in the main event, but I think it will be to ensure that MJF leaves with the championship. What are your thoughts on what I just said? I know it was a lot.
Yeah. No. And I'm in on it. I believe that, you know, the potential of a CM Punk and MJF feud once again, I mean, just keep it coming. I mean, these guys have such great matches together, great chemistry, and I believe they are each other's greatest AEW rival, you know, to each other in AEW. Like, these two, they just have storybook, from the dog collar match to just the initial to the world titles. And so, I mean, I don't think anybody's getting mad at CM Punk versus MJF, maybe even at All Out. I do believe that MJF is going to win. That is my pick officially. And he'll retain that championship. I love that it's going to go on last. That's the right call. But I do want to make a little caveat here about Adam Cole. And what I do want to say is this is kind of a make or break match for Adam Cole. All right. So this is the take. Basically, if Adam Cole does not perform in a main event of this size and of this magnitude, he will never sniff the main event again. And, you know, it's a bold prediction, but I feel like with this much on the line and this big of a gate and this big of everything, even though he's not going to win this match, he has got to just have the greatest match he's ever had in his career, to where people are going to leave talking about Adam Cole, baby. And if he does not do that with MJF, because we've proved that MJF can have those kind of matches, nobody's going to blame MJF if this match is not a good match, but they will blame Adam Cole, and they will come out the pitchforks with him. And AEW will be rethinking about his main event status. They've worked with him through all the injury. They've worked with him through everything. And again, he's been a great company guy, but I do want him. And I think Adam Cole knows that the pressure is very on him, and it's very real in this show. And I think that's something that some people aren't really talking enough about. So I want to kind of see what your thoughts are on that as well, because I wanted to talk about it.
So I like your point of view. So let me ask you this before I give my answer. Let me ask you this question: Who do you think dethrones MJF?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think eventually, I don't think it's Punk. I think Punk has put him over immensely, and I think Punk has a special bond with this kid. that he's going to continue to put him over. With that being said, I don't know if it's an established wrestler that's already been on top, like a Kenny Omega or somebody like that, or maybe they go the route of giving it to somebody like a Jay White, or somebody that is very much still got a future in AEW at a high level. And, or maybe they use it to put, over one of the originals, one of those 4 pillars, right? And maybe that doesn't happen for 3 years down the road, or maybe it's a long Roman type reign, right? Even though we will have the whole bidding war of 2024 and all that fun stuff. So I don't know who eventually takes them down. I hope that it's not a Jon Moxley or somebody like that. Sorry, Heather. But I just think it needs to be somebody that needs to get over as a main event star. And that could be a Jay White, and to put him to the next level, or even a Will Ospreay or somebody like that.
So, but you don't think it's Adam Cole, though?
I don't think it's Adam Cole. I don't see him as the guy that takes away the gold from MJF. I think it's going to be somebody that we aren't thinking of right now. And
then before I get my answer, I have one more question for you. Who's going to be the face and who's going to be the heel? Do you see MJF eventually returning back to his heel tactics, or do you think he's going to be a face and then eventually Adam Cole's going to turn on him? Where do you think that's going?
Yep. I think MJF is going to be a heel all the way through this bidding war of 2024. I think he is going to play the heel and rub it in Tony's face. And he's always had this Austin McMahon vibe with Tony, but it's reverse. Tony's the good guy, and, MJF is the jerk, right? And I think he's going to play that all the way through 2024. And then when he resigns with AEW, I think that's when we'll start to see a little bit of a face run with him.
All right. So again, so I'm picking MJF to win. And again, and it kind of counteract what you just said, is I think we eventually get, so again, I think that we see CM Punk versus MJF at All Out. And I do think, I agree with you, like MJF is going to win. And then I think eventually at the next pay-per-view, which is Full Gear, I think we'll see Adam Cole versus MJF one more time for the title. And at that time, I think that we're going to see, that's when we finally see MJF turn heel on Adam Cole. He'll use the Elite, he'll use Roderick Strong and the Kingdom to help beat Adam Cole. So again, just to kind of go off of my storyline, is that I don't think that they're ending this bromance yet, the brochachos, because I think it is good TV. It is the best thing they have going right now. So I think that all this kind of just leads to them being able to carry the storyline going on for longer, which eventually will end to the breakup of them, but we're not going to see that for a few more months. So I think we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm going to be paying so much attention to Adam Cole in this matchup because I feel like it is make or break for him, and not like in a bad way, but if they're going to take him very serious in the future, or if he's going to be a borderline main event guy here. And I feel like it's really Adam's world to create. And, I don't know where that goes. And I think they're going to be really watching to see what he can do with a big event like this with over 80,000 people just in attendance. And the fans love him,
And to counteract what you just said, like again, to me, if he does step up and he does step up to this, to say like I've arrived, either maybe there is, again, because I was thinking, honestly, you kind of made me change course, because I was thinking at Full Gear you're going to see a heel Adam Cole defeat MJF, and I think that could still be where they take it, but at the same time, with the bidding war of 2024 going on, if they do go back to that storyline, even though they haven't talked about it very much, it makes all the sense in the world for MJF to be the heel in that, and to kind of leave with the title. So even though he doesn't leave, just kayfabe. So again, you kind of made me change course on that. But again, they could take it eventually with the heel Adam Cole defeating MJF at Full Gear. So I think there is a lot to be determined with this, and again, I think it's good to have options for them. So, do you have any more to kind of cover this, or do you want to counteract that at all? Or
Yeah, let me give it like another final thought here on it. It's with the bidding war of 2024, I could see a route where, you remember how Austin McMahon wanted to get the title off of Austin so bad, right? But McMahon was the clear heel, Austin was the face. It's reverse roles here, but I still see Tony Khan playing the role of, I got to get this title off of this guy. Who in this locker room is going to grab the brass ring for AEW? Who's going to be AEW's champion? This man is going to ruin the company when he leaves with our title. He's going to do what Ric Flair did in 92 and show up in the other company with the real world's champion, right? And I feel like there's such a great story there. I want to know who Tony Khan's champion is and who he is going to get to grab the brass ring and to grab the title from the clutches of the devil himself. So that's my final thought.
Yeah, and to me, like, I think that it makes a lot of sense, like what you just said, like that. I like where you're going with that. And to me, like, I'm hoping for Wardlow. Again, I want to see, I mean, again, I wouldn't mind seeing Hell Cole, but I want to see Wardlow, again, with Wardlow being the guy that took that, he, again, with the title, he beat MJF, so convincingly for the TNT title. I'm hoping that we get to see eventually Wardlow get built back up and he's the guy who saves the company, because I think that he should be the future, and I hope that they get that booking right. But I like where you're taking this story, and having Tony Khan throwing all these different faces at MJF would be a fun storyline. So again, I think we're going to be eating well as AEW fans. Do you want to do your shout outs, or do you have any other thoughts about that?
No, I'm good. Let's go ahead and do our final thoughts and shout outs. So overall, just a thank you to everybody that supports us. Check out our Twitter spaces over on Twitter X, I should say. I'm going to call it Twitter X. I can't get used to the name X, but X is going to give it to you. And for you guys, for all of us that do the Twitter spaces over there, it's a great time to have conversations like Carlos and I that we're having right now, but with the community. So definitely it's on right in the last hour of Monday Night Raw and 10 o'clock on Mondays. And then we also post some other ones throughout the week, especially AEW ones we've been doing on Wednesday nights. But also check us out at thefansprowrestling.com. And I want to say shout out to John, Will, Heather. Again, we're excited to, get you guys back in the saddle here with Carlos and I. And that's all my shout outs. You can follow me at the Bryan Adkins on Twitter.
And again, something I'm thinking about for us to do as a team is maybe doing a Twitter space after All In. So if we do decide to do that, pay attention to our handles on X, Twitter X, to see, come along, join us. But like I said, just thank you to the Sage Up Network. Again, thank you to our other friends of the show who support us. A quick shout out to Ted the Hillbilly Hill, Austin Boyer, We Laugh, We Learn. Again, just everyone else in the Sage Up Network, Mr. Distinguished Gentleman's Podcast. Again, to anyone who's a friend of the show. Again, this is more John and William's thing. Again, thank you to I'm drawing a blank now. Anyways, just thank you to everyone who supports us, all of our friends. Thank you for making it a positive wrestling community for us. And again, we look forward to enjoying the show with you. And we'll be back on Wednesday. So join me tomorrow on Twitter Spaces at 10 o'clock as soon as Dynamite's over for another fun Twitter space. And we can just talk about any more matches to get added and just talk about the general build to this card. So with that, I have nothing else. We'll say goodbye. And thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.